to say one word. Jackfruit. It's one word. Jackfruit. Jackfruit. Have you ever seen one? This is a chunk of jackfruit, fresh, and look how beautiful it is inside. You've got like alligator skin. It's like an avocado with slightly sharp points on it instead of just all the little bubbly shapes. And then inside, golden, glorious fruit in beautiful lobes. And if you go to an Asian market like I did, I went to the wonderful Asian market nearest to me. It's called Li Ming, and it is an enormous grocery store. It's in what was once a Circuit City location, and it's got seafood, fresh fish all across the back, and a butcher shop, and incredible fresh vegetables and fruit, all kinds of canned goods and stable sauces and so forth from Asia, from East Asia, from South Asia, from Southeast Asia, really from all over the world. So it's a world market with an Asian focus. And one of the treasures that they have this time of year is the tropical fruit known as jackfruit. And they sell it, thank goodness, in chunks. So I bought this nice chunk of jackfruit, kind of a, sort of looks like the sail on a sailboat, doesn't it? I bought this and brought it home because I want to show you, in case you come across one, that you can take it home and cut into it and get all the goodness out of it yourself. And it's so wonderful. I love it because it reminds me of my time in Thailand. I was in Thailand in the Peace Corps years ago, and jackfruit was one of the delightful seasons of the year when these became fresh and you could find them in all the markets. And I'll tell you, when I was in Thailand, I didn't learn how to chop up a jackfruit. I just went to the market and I bought a handful or a kilo, or, you know, I bought it all prepared. But now I need to be able to break it down myself, and it's not hard to do it, and it's really fun. Okay, I'm Nancy McDermott. Welcome to Nancy's Table, and today we're talking about jackfruit. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is not anything with this. I'm going to oil my hands, because I learned in going from someone who just loved to eat it and stood while somebody packed it up for me, that having your hands oiled helps your hands not be too sticky with some of the juices, some of the natural, you know, essences that come out of it as you cut it. And I'm also going to oil the blade of my knife. I pour that right here. And of course, using a knife when your hands are oiled, be careful. Move slowly. We're not in any kind of a rush. And most of this is going to be pulling and not chopping. Okay, so I've got my hands nice and greasy. I've got my cleaver nice and greasy. I just wanted to show you, when I bought it at Li Ming, this piece was completely wrapped in plastic wrap. So I could see how this one is bright yellow. That's something that you want to look for. It's completely wrapped up. And should you want to buy a larger one, should you want to buy a whole one, they weigh 20 pounds. They weigh 25, 30, 40. I've heard they even go up to 100 pounds. But at supermarkets, it'll probably be more in the range of 20. This chunk, which is probably about a quarter of a jackfruit, is 8 pounds. Just this part of it. So a little goes a long way. All right, so I've got my hands nice and oily. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna get out this section in the middle, which is just, you know, it's like in an orange. You open up an orange and it's got all the white pith, the white pieces, the things that hold it together. What we're going for is this beautiful, bright yellow, these lobes, these sort of teardrop shaped pieces. That's what we want to get to. So let's see which knife. I'm going to start with my small knife and see how I can do with my paring knife, just going along. I'm just carving around the edges of this not needed part in the middle. I'm gonna see if I can get that out. And I'm just chopping and I'm going slowly. I'm keeping my knife, I'm not, you know, like I said, my hands are oiled, so I'm not lifting my knife up and waving it around. I'm just using it to punch in and then shift and punch in and move around and trying to loosen things up. I figure the less cutting I can do and the more pulling, the better off, the happier I'm gonna be. Okay, so I'm gonna come back around the side and saw a little bit more. And let's see if I've loosened that up enough to get it out. Okay, see, I've got my fingers jammed in there. And I think I'm gonna do it a half at a time. So I'm gonna go in, way down, and then saw, back out, in. I'm not gonna move it until I'm inside. See if I can get a little bit more of that section out. All right, so far, it is not cooperating like I thought it would. So let's see if I can pull on this side and grab that section. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? I'm gonna go in at that spot and see if I can cut down a smaller section that does not include that middle. That's where I wanna go. And I'm gonna come from the outside and get in. Makes great noises. The aroma that I'm getting as I pull on this and cut on this is so sweet. All right, so let's see if there we go. So it wants to come apart. It wants to cooperate and do what I want it to do. So you can see how that opens it up. And I'm not worrying about that. See this great big part? No wonder it didn't come out. I don't have to get that whole part out. You know what? I think the ticket is cut it in half and a quarter and an eighth. And the more you get a like watermelon slice size section, the easier it'll be to work with. Okay, so now I've got a nice manageable chunk. And can you see how there's strips of thin white filaments, strips that hold the good pieces in shape. See that bright yellow golden section right there? That's what we want. And you know what's right in the middle of this golden piece that is the delicious fruit? The delightful Easter egg looking seeds, whole seeds. Hear how big that? You can hear it. I've got a glass pie plate that it's landing on. I'm keeping the seeds because they are edible. We'll come back to that. All right, so I've got this part here that is, I know that it wants to come away and do what I want it to do. So I'm going to just use my fingers now and see if I can get this one, get a segment and show you what we're going for. Okay, so I'm digging down and I pulled it out, and that is one chunk of the fruit like we want it. Now see this long skinny piece? I showed you those pieces. We don't want that. And see this, let's see, this is all good. So in here is where the seed was. You see on the outside, it's it's striated, it's got shapes. That's a beautiful piece. So I'm gonna put my seeds in this little container right here, and I'm gonna put the beautiful pieces of jackfruit that I want on that piece, and then all my things that I don't need, I'm just gonna set over there to the side. Okay, let's go back in and see if we can get another section. So here's that fibrous part at the top. I'm reaching down and I'm pulling in, and you're just looking for the bright gold. And it's pretty easy to, when you look at the whole piece, maybe it doesn't look that different. So here's what I pulled out. Now, you can tell that little hanging down part, we don't need that. Pull that off. And I'm gonna tear this section away. See, there's more of the white pieces that are holding it in place. This reminds me of mace. If you've ever seen a nutmeg, which is nut-shaped and hard, and we grate it to make the nutmeg that we put on eggnog and in old-time cookies and custard pie and so forth. Nutmeg grows with a fibrous piece around it that it reminds me so much of the way that this encircles and encloses and probably protects the jackfruit. So here's another, this is what we're looking for. See how beautiful that is? And I'm gonna feel it. Yep, inside there's a seed. So I'm gonna I stuck my finger in and I'm pulling this open, and voila, behold the seed. That's going here. And now let me show you inside. You don't just want this lobe. The seed was encased in a thin casing, encased in a casing. And I'm just gonna get a hold of that thing that was holding the seed, and I pulled off a little bit of the top that's fibrous. So there's our second part. This is, so I've got one section, looks like a little mango. I've got a second section. This is good fruit. Here's another, I feel like calling them lobes. Here's another section. That part on top, you know what? I'm gonna cut that because that looks like the more fibrous part where it was attached. And look, I cut that off, and now I can go right in through the top, and guess what's inside? Yes, another seed. So I'm exposing that seed. In this case, and so take it all the way to the top, and the part that holds the seed in place is a little bit fibrous. So see how the seed was attached to the top of the fruit? We don't need that part. Now let me show you. The seed has a skin on the outside, and inside it's smooth and sort of dove gray. It looks like a stone. So I'm gonna keep that peeled seed. This casing for the seed I'm gonna discard, and that leaves me with the beautiful yellow section. It doesn't matter if these come apart. And I've got 1 section, 2 section, 3 section, and this is the part that came off that I didn't need. That's all my compost. When you do this, you're gonna have a lot left over. There's gonna be a lot that you don't need. I started earlier. Here's a section where I pulled it out, and I have that whole skin. It's not so sharp that it would cut you or hurt a lot, but it is, you know, you got some traction on that. These grow from directly out of the trunk of a tree. Go to the Google and look for jackfruit growing in the wild. It's just amazing. A 20-pound fruit can be hanging by a very short stem out of the trunk of a tree and hanging down. And gravity does not make it leave until it is fully ripe and ready, or until somebody harvests it. It's miraculous and wonderful, and also delicious. Okay, so now I've got, see how I'm coming into this? I've got 2 sections. I'm gonna go to the middle and pull out that part. And let's see if I can I'm looking for the bright yellow among the soft yellow color. So here I'm gonna come again, pull those white filaments off and down, got rid of that. And now I need to go inside for the seed, and I just put my thumb in and it splits open nicely. And here comes the seed out. And again, I'm gonna let this show me, here's the seed. There's the seed peeled, putting that over there in my collection. And then I'm gonna use my fingers to push away all the parts that were holding that seed casing. So that leaves me with this, it's almost like a flower. So it's opened up, that's the part where it was attached to the seed. This is the base, and the seed was right in the middle there. The Thai name for this is kanoon. And the word for seed in Thai is met. So this is met kanoon. And it's so charming. There is a Thai sweet, Thai sweet that is, it's like marzipan, except they're using mung bean centers. So it's a bean paste that is sweetened and colored and shaped into tiny watermelon and little flowers and all kinds of beautiful objects. And it's trompe l'oeil, it's tricking your eyes. And one of the goodies that are made out of that mung bean paste is called met kanoon, and it is a jackfruit seed, only it's not. So it's a little candy that is made to look like a jackfruit seed. So that's 2 ways. If you're in Thailand, you could enjoy it that way. Or let's talk about the seeds. So should I do one more? I'll do one more. So I could break this. I actually don't need to break it. I could cut it with scissors. I'm gonna cut that. Now that I've got it open like this, you don't have to use the knife a whole lot. I've got it open this far. I'm using my knife to just cut those sections apart. If you're having trouble, just get a smaller mass and a smaller mass. And remember that your fingers are gonna be your best friend. Your fingers are gonna do the biggest part of the work. Let's get one more portion. See here in the middle, right there, I'm just pushing out that yellow part. Oh, I was too far. I wasn't in the right place. And once I got all my fingers under there, I got that big center piece out. That's a good section that I'm taking off. I'm pulling that apart. And again, there's a little there on the bottom that's not good. Just look for the color difference. And then I'm splitting it open, taking a hold of that seed and pulling that whole top. I know how to do it now. Get that seed and leave it attached. And now I'm gonna just use my fingernail to peel that casing off, compost, keep, and jackfruit. Now, I'm not going to say see how easy that is. It's a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of time. But what a wonderful reward you get. Now you've got something absolutely delicious. Just cover these, keep them in the fridge, and eat them. It's a delicious, sweet, wonderful fruit. You could also chop it up and use it in a fruit salad. And you could put some in a container and take it to your friends because maybe they've never had jackfruit and don't know how wonderful it is. To me, the flavor is, it's in the family of tropical deliciousness of pineapple and mango and mangosteen and lychee and so forth. It's not peaches, it's not bananas, it's not apples. The texture, I was thinking the texture, it has a little bit of a crunch like an apple or a pear has, but it's got a luscious, tender sweetness like a peach or a plum has. So it's not like anything else where I could tell you what to expect, but just know that it is incredibly perfumed and incredibly delicious. So I will keep going on this. I may start and stop. I mean, I can cover this back up, put it in the fridge. I'll finish this up tonight because I've already got it started, but I may save this tomorrow morning. I may get my coffee and put on a podcast and work on it in the cool of the morning. So jackfruit. Now, suppose all this is too much. You're saying to me, yeah, but there's nowhere around here I can get that. Or that's more than I am really interested in doing, but it's fun to know. There are two ways that you can have jackfruit in your life without going to this much trouble or without having access to the fresh ones. First of all is canned jackfruit in that same Asian market. Just go over to the canned fruit section and they'll have lychees and rambutans and mangosteens and all kinds of delicious tropical fruits that you could find fresh all over Asia, especially Southeast Asia. And one of the ones they'll have is jackfruit. And that shows you exactly what you're looking for in terms of its shape when it's out and peeled. This is packed in syrup. This one is imported from Thailand. And I'll just show you what the pieces look like. I already opened the can, of course. So it's in, this one's probably been cut in half from the way that they came out. You know, this might have been a bigger one. So here's a section, and you can see how this was probably a little bit smaller, and they got that seed out. So let me show you these side by side so you can see the color different. Of course, it's been canned. So, you know, there's special magic with the fresh, but I love the canned fruit in Asia. I love, just chill it. It makes a great addition to a fresh fruit salad. So there is the fresh jackfruit that we just peeled, and there is canned jackfruit. So it's kind of a darker golden in color, but it still has a great crunch, a great flavor. Now, this is another treasure. This is green jackfruit. And by green, you could say, well, it's all green jackfruit. The peeling is green. But by green, they mean unripe. They mean not yet fully developed. It's in a stage where it's used in Thailand as a vegetable, just like papaya. Green papaya salad, papaya is a vegetable. It's chopped up. It's used with fish sauce and chilies, and it's used for its crispy crunch, like a cabbage, like shredded cabbage. Green jackfruit, unripe jackfruit. Remember how there are all these pieces that come off? With green jackfruit, you're using everything except that hard green outside. And this is, of course, has been processed. But this is, let's see, I can show you. It's grayish in color. It's sort of tan, I shouldn't say gray. So it's kind of tan color. It would be more light yellow. It'd be very hard to tell what was what part was going to be the fruit and what part was going to be the filaments. But you see how the color is. See there, you can see where the baby, where the seeds are going to grow. That seed is about the size of a peanut, and it's going to become the size of a Brazil nut. And what this is used for, this is the darling of people who are vegan and vegetarian, because somebody figured out that this fruit, which you can get in a can, is tender and has a lot of texture. Remember all the parts that we were looking at. Remember the places where the seeds are going to go, and see all those little filaments. So when people want to make something that mimics barbecue that's shredded and chopped. This is a sturdy, interestingly shaped, eager to take on various flavors. See here, this section. So people take this and put barbecue sauce on it and cook it down and flavor it, and it's used as a main course that can be flavored anyway in vegan and vegetarian cooking. So look that up. So green jackfruit. In Thailand, they don't call it green, they call it young on. So this is Kanoon on, young jackfruit. You can see on the label there's a picture of the bumpy skin, the bumpy's little bit sharp skin, and the unripe fruit. So before you go, I want to just taste test everything. So the unripe jackfruit just tastes, it has a little bit of a tang. It almost tastes a little bit toward olives. I'm sure that that's the preserving process. So it doesn't have any flavor to speak of that is dramatic, but of course that's the point. It's like tofu, it's like water chestnuts. It's something that has a texture, and Asian people love that as a playground on which to use all different kinds of flavors. I'm gonna taste the jackfruit from the fresh, ripe, sweet jackfruit from the can. Lovely texture, nice and sweet. I love it. Very sweet, a little sweeter than, of course it's canned in syrup, so that's why. And finally, I've already had some of this, but I can't get enough. Let me just try this. And nice texture, nice crunch. Use it whole, chop it up, put it in smoothies, put it in the freezer and put it in smoothies. So many good things. Last but not least, remember I told you about the seeds? So in my little pot here, I decided that I would boil the seeds. I've heard of roasting them and boiling them, and they're said to be like potatoes. This is the first time that I have ever cooked them, and I don't know if it's been long enough, but let's just kind of see what we've got here. These are super steamy hot. Let's see, there's my little knife. Let's see if I can cut. Oh, that one's pretty hard. That one's, yeah, nice. So let's see. So here are the uncooked ones. Actually, let me get those out. There's one uncooked one, and there's one cooked one. So remember that outer coating, peeling that off. Gosh, this feels like peeling a chestnut, only a lot easier. Inside, there's a little bit of a colorful skin on it. So that looks for all the world like a teeny tiny baby potato, doesn't it? And so here's the uncooked, and there's one that's cooked. And I don't know if it's been long enough. So much like a chestnut. Oh my gosh. So my friend Bill Smith uses chestnut puree to make ice cream and all sorts of things. So it has a more savory feeling than chestnuts. To me, chestnuts bring a little bit of sweetness, but this is something interesting to play with. Roast it, boil it, put seasoning on it, all the ways to go. So you can see I don't like to waste anything. Don't worry, I am not going to suggest that you do anything with this part or anything with that part. This is compost, so we're going to let that go. But inside this magnificent, marvelous, incredible, improbable fruit are gorgeous, sweet, yellow fruit in nice pieces. You could cut that in strips. And there are also these seeds that turn into a tasty little savory snack. So use the parts you can use, compost if you can, the parts that you can't use, and be on the lookout for jackfruit wherever you are. You could, of course, I would not recommend ordering fresh jackfruit online. It would be way too heavy to ship, but you can certainly find the, for vegan and vegetarian cooking, you can find the green jackfruit online and the sweet canned jackfruit. Okay, that's our story today. Thank you for watching me dig into a giant fruit that came from a tropical place to my North Carolina kitchen brings back good memories for me and gives me a delicious way to get the fruits that I need to be eating. I'm so glad you watched. If you had a good time, subscribe. I'll be back with many, many more things, food and stories and good times in the kitchen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye now.